hello everyone again. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for supporting Kara and supporting Libre. Kara, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us here tonight. Kara Lissy, besides being a published author, she's also licensed clinical social worker. And we're going to talk about healing from dysfunctional family today. How do you define a dysfunctional family, and what are some common misconceptions people have about it?
I think the biggest misconception, especially with the clients I work with, is that you really have to have a capital T trauma in your family to have a dysfunctional family. So something like abuse or a really traumatic separation or an illness. But that's not necessarily the truth, because dysfunction can show up in a lot of ways that might even be invisible to somebody who doesn't know the family. It's in patterns of communication. It could be alcoholism or drug addiction, gambling even. It could be how the different children are treated differently in the home based on preferential treatment. It could be body shaming, and all of these things can be super covert and so not really recognizable to maybe someone on the outside. But then when these children grow up and become adults out in the world and they start to see maybe these things aren't so normal with other families or with other friends, it's like you go back to the family and you figure out where everything started to go wrong.
Thank you.
Kara, many people grow up believing their family dynamics are normal. Like, nobody gonna say like we are something wrong with us. How can someone recognize that they may have been affected by dysfunction? Mm-hmm. How can people can find that thing they believe is normal, but something is wrong?
I think the way it usually naturally happens is when you start to leave your home and go out and become a young adult out in the world. So that could be going to college, it could be getting your first job, it could be entering your first relationship outside of your family relationships. And when you start to become your own person and separate from the role that you had in your family and what everyone kind of expected you to be or how you were expected to act, you're a fuller person when you're out in the world. So you learn your likes, you learn your dislikes, you learn how you want to be treated, how you don't want to be treated. And then you kind of go back home and you don't feel good again. And so it's that like individuation from your family. I think out in the real world, making decisions for yourself, I think that's when a lot of people start to notice it.
You think this one is just after, young people, they're gonna understand themselves, know themselves, then they can notice those kind of patterns.
I think that's when it starts to sink in. Also because when you're 23 to 30, your frontal lobe starts to close. So you can think about things more rationally. You start to observe patterns better than when you were younger. But I do think that even if you're a young kid and you go to a sleepover at somebody else's house, or you're on a soccer team with other kids and you start to see how their parents are, you might start to notice differences even then. Like, oh, their dad doesn't yell at them, or their mom is sober, my mom's always drunk, like little differences like that. I think kids do pick up on that. It's just a lot harder for kids to have the vocabulary to say what's going on.
So we discussed when people start noticing, but what are some wounds that adults carry when they grow up from dysfunctional families that are more common?
Definitely anything to do with attachment in any form. So whether that's with dating, or you're in a serious relationship, or you're trying to make new friends or deepen your existing friendships. By attachment, I mean being really sensitive to rejection, perceiving that others might be mad at you when they're not, trying to people please, kind of like morphing into whatever others need you to be. Anything in relationships is usually a big red flag. If your relationships are suffering, that's usually a wound from something that happened in your dysfunctional family for sure. It can also show up at work in terms of not knowing when to say no, taking on, being the person that everybody goes to. Why is everyone always calling me? Why is everyone always bothering me? and not knowing how to shut that off at the end of the day, those can be some of the wounds.
Shame. Sometimes we are shy, to explain everything what's going on. What role does shame play in preventing people from seeking healing?
Shame is such a tricky emotion because a long time ago it was very, and still sometimes is very useful to people who are afraid to be themselves because they're afraid they're going to get ridiculed or hurt, sometimes physically hurt, or even just outcast from a certain social group because of being who they are. And so the shame helps you keep quiet so that you don't have to be yourself. And I think in a family, what this might look like is maybe the child who's really outgoing and talkative and energetic and kind of like a lot, and the family tells them they're too much. That kid might be too ashamed to be themselves in a social setting, and that could grow up not wanting to take certain opportunities or not wanting to put themselves out there and make new friends. So it's really like a fear-based emotion that keeps people quiet.
All right.
So we touched base a little bit on how childhood experiences or traumas affect relationships. But can you elaborate more? How does it also affect careers and self-esteem in people?
I think the biggest way is probably willingness or like the ability to see yourself in an advanced role. So being able to envision yourself getting the promotion, being the CEO, being a leader in your company, even just like getting the next promotion. A lot of people have the internal talk from their family dysfunction telling them, why bother? You're not good enough. What if you fail? A lot of people in their dysfunctional homes, failure is just not acceptable. So why even bother if you're just not going to get the promotion? Why even bother trying? So I think it can really cripple people from trying and making an effort, for sure. On the other end of the spectrum, I think you have the overachievers where their work is their everything, maybe sometimes to the detriment of relationships. They don't have a lot of friends. They don't have relationships. All they do is work, and it's their only identity because they didn't have an identity in their home. So I think there's like kind of a wide spectrum, and you can go on either end when it comes to career.
You have experience with the clients and your own experience, like in your work. What are some practical first steps someone can take if they want to begin their healing journey? Like what they can do? Do you have any tips or tricks or like?
For someone who's never been in therapy before, I think if you have a trusted friend, going to a friend is always really good because they're not going to judge you. They don't expect any payment from you. They're just there to listen to you. They'll probably share something back with you about what they're going through, and it's a safe space. If you're interested in therapy but a little nervous, I would recommend a workbook. And mine is just one of many. I mean, this is a really all-encompassing workbook, so it has anxiety, depression, people-pleasing, you name it, boundaries. But there are a lot of more
Looks like this,
exercises.
where you can do the exercises.
Yep. So something like that you can do in the privacy of your own home and not worry about anybody seeing it. And if it brings things up, you can then take the step and say, this exercise was really hard. I need to bring this to therapy and find a therapist who treats dysfunctional families.
Oh, thank you.
So you emphasize healing rather than blaming on family members or the circumstances. Why this distinction is so important?
Yeah, when I think about blame, I think about the opposite of blame is taking accountability. So if you're blaming somebody for what they did to you or for something that happened in your home, and that's where all your focus is going, it takes the focus away from, well, what can you do in your life to move on from it? How can you cope with it? How do you want your life to be, even though what happened? So I think there's a lot of other feelings that can go along with blame that make sense, like anger, sadness, frustration, resentment. Those are all welcome. And like I process that a lot with people in therapy. But blame is tricky because I really think it takes the onus off of you. And I mean, all we would want from our family members is for them to take accountability for what they did. So I think it only is fair if we also take accountability for our lives and how we want to move forward.
Expectation. A lot of family like have like high expectation for their children. What advice will you give to someone who's feel trapped by the family expectations?
Trapped in the sense of a path of life, like, oh,
In
everyone in the family is
they're
doctors,
waiting, yeah.
or okay, so, or even just like, don't move away from home kind of thing. Like, we want you to stay
Exactly.
close. It's hard because you have to stick to, it's balancing two types of values. It's your family values that maybe you want to remain close with your parents because of all that they did for you and you want to have them in your lives, but you also have to hold true to your own values, which might mean moving away from home, doing a different career path, marrying somebody that your parents might not approve of for whatever reason. And so if you can go back in line with whatever your values are, I think at the end of the day, it's a helpful decision because you can have both. You can say, I'm going to make this decision for myself, and mom, dad, siblings, you might not agree with it, but I want to have you in my life. But this is the condition, is that I'm going to be with this person. I'm going to have this job. I'm going to move to this city. And I want you in my life. So having that like both and language is really helpful so that you can live out all of your values and not leave your family behind if you don't want to.
So, in one word, setting boundaries.
Hot topic.
How can people set boundaries with family members and at the same time not feel guilty about it?
I love that question because the guilt is the hardest part of setting the boundary. It's never sending the text, it's never saying it out loud, it's never knowing what you want, right? I mean, we always know what we want to do or what we don't want to do. It's very clear, but it's the feeling afterwards that sets people back. And it's the feeling after that people reverse their boundaries sometimes. Oh, never mind, I changed my mind. I'll come back. I won't do the thing. And it's holding firm. You're not responsible for how they feel about your boundary. You're only responsible for what you need to do for yourself. And if you said it kindly, if you were clear, if you didn't hurt anybody, there is no reason to feel guilty. I always say to my clients, like, guilt logically means I did something bad. I did something wrong. I hurt somebody. I have remorse. And so I always ask them to look at the situation. Did you do something bad? Did you hurt anybody by saying, please don't come to my house uninvited? Or please don't have more than a few drinks? You know, like whatever the boundary is. Is that really hurtful? Or are you just saying something that you need? So I always say, like, does it fit the facts that you feel guilty, or is there something else underneath the guilt? And usually there's something else, like fear or sadness or not wanting to disappoint them, not wanting to lose the relationship. But yeah, boundaries are tricky, and you have to have a consequence. Otherwise, they don't work.
Wow, this is
Yes.
great thing actually. To be in peace with the consequence.
Yes. To be at peace with the consequence, and it doesn't have to be a harsh, you don't even have to say what the consequence is. You could just simply do it. Like, oh, I really don't like when my parent drinks around my children, so we're not going to let them watch the kids alone anymore. But we don't have to tell them that. We're just not going to allow it. That's a
Yes.
boundary.
So you don't have to voice it.
You don't always have to voice it. If it's helpful, you can. It can be a warning. It can kind of be what you need it to be for the relationship. But a lot of the times it's just like holding firm, because then it's just an empty threat if you don't do anything with it.
How do forgiveness and healing intersect, and they're always necessary together?
Forgiveness, there's a lot of debate in the mental health world about what forgiveness even is. And if you need to say it, like if you need to actually tell someone I forgive you to move on, if it means you're letting them stay in your life. I don't think that if you forgive someone, it means they need to stay in your life. I don't. I think you can forgive it for you to move on, and the person can do whatever they need to do. I do think to not forgive this is also my personal experience, but to actively not forgive is exhausting. It is so taxing on the body and the mind to like hold all of that. Like you're just so angry at somebody pressure. And you're putting so much energy that it's almost worse than if you just let your ego go and kind of said that you were going to accept it and move on. So I think in some ways forgiveness is a lot like acceptance. You have to accept what happened, even if you don't like it, even if you don't agree with it, but it's the only way to move on with your life. Because this whole book is about your life. It's not about changing your family, fixing your partner. It's what do you need to move on.
In connection to this, so our next question now for all the people that are going through things right now. Let's clarify one thing. Can healing still happen even if family members do not acknowledge that they did harm to you?
Yes.
100%.
I think so. I think it's a hard thing to want. It's a hard thing not to get. Most of the time, though, the whole part of the dysfunction is that you haven't gotten it and that you're never going to get it. I think that is kind of what makes a dysfunctional family, is when people don't take accountability. So to accept that you're not going to get it is to say that has nothing to do with me, that I'm not getting it, like it's, they can't give it to me. It doesn't mean I'm not deserving of it. It doesn't mean I'm not worthy of the accountability. But if they can't give it to me, what else do I have to do then? Accept them for who they are.
Kara, how can parents create emotionally safe environment for their children?
All my parents. They're all doing a great job.
They try. I mean,
yes.
Everybody tries for the
Parenting
best.
Parenting is the hardest job in the world. It really is. And it's hard because you're carrying all of the intergenerational things from not only your family, but your partner's family and their family. And if they're still around and in your life, you're juggling all of it at once. I think to be self-regulated is the most important thing. I know from, again, speaking me personally, coming from a place of calm and not even calm, just like, it's never calm. What am I saying? Like not reactive, not immediately the first thing I want to say or do coming out of my mouth. That's usually not the right thing. So like pausing and thinking, but also keeping your life sacred kind of outside of your child too. Keeping some things that you just need to do by yourself that remind you of who you are can help with that as well. I think when it comes to specifically like passing down dysfunctional family things, noticing it and talking about it with a therapist or with your partner, with your friends, helps you see it more in the moment. So the more that you talk about it and the more that you're like, oh, I sound like my mom, or that reminded me of my grandma, or I didn't like the way that came out to my kid, helps you next time catch it before it happens. So talking about it can build self-awareness too.
So when I started reading your book, in the very beginning, there's a phrase, I am a parent. So it made me like really think. I was like, wow. You said, I hope for your daughter.
Oh, now you're going to make me cry. I said I wasn't going to cry.
I hope I'll give you a childhood that you don't need to heal from.
Yeah.
And that was...
Yeah.
How do we ensure that happens?
I'll let you know in about 16 years when she's an adult, 15 years almost. No, I think, oh yeah, wow.
How do we ensure we don't pass down these patterns that, let's say, we've been through? Mm-hmm. There are some things. Everybody has some.
Yes, that's a good point. And I'll say this, like you will mess up your kid in some way. I mean, you probably already have. Not to be blunt. Not saying it's a trauma, not saying it's anything, super damaging, but in the sense that everybody's imperfect. Parents especially. More parents are like both dual income workers now than ever. So you have the work stress. You have our aging parents, so we're now taking care of our parents, sometimes informally when they don't want to be taken care of, but we need to. It's like this pressure gap, and so we're going to pass stress on to them. They're going to witness stress. They're going to witness fights in a marriage. They're going to witness not proud moments. And I think if you can build their resilience to deal with those things rather than focus on being so perfect. Because I have to tell you, the kids that have the perfect parents grow up to be adults, they're not okay. No one with a perfect parent is okay. And they're not perfect, but the fact that that's what was passed on, imagine that kind of pressure. My mom and dad were perfect. I don't want that for Avery. Thankfully, she doesn't have that. But it's like, you're going to do something, focus on the resilience and the muscles that they have rather than what am I going to pass on and how harmful is it going to be? Just help them grow strong.
And so you're saying that it is healthy in some way for them to see conflict, experience
Yes.
conflict.
Absolutely.
So what else will help them build this resilience in life?
Repair from the conflict is actually more important than any
Witnessing.
yes.
Okay.
Than witnessing it or even being in it. Like if you're arguing with your kid and you say something you don't mean, as quickly as you can repair and say, I'm sorry, that was not okay. I was stressed. I didn't sleep. It's not an excuse. I love you. I didn't mean it. Make that connection because what they learn is not only is conflict normal, an apology is normal and an apology is expected. And if I don't get an apology from somebody, that's not a safe person. Like someone that cares about me will repair with me,
Yes.
So I think that repair is probably the most important thing.
Yeah, good point. You mentioned trauma. Why do you think conversation about the family trauma are becoming more common today?
It really is more common. I see it everywhere. It's like trendy. It's like who has what kind of dysfunction? I know.
I hope it's a trend to stay.
In a good way. In a good way. I think it's good because I think our generation is very open about talking about things more so than other generations, and I hope it continues. I don't know why we have this language where we can just kind of relate to each other. Maybe it's a little bit technology because we're all always texting or sending each other voice memos
all the time.
So it's easier to talk. Probably the information spreading, I'd say, faster.
All right.
Yeah.
What does breaking generational cycles look like in everyday life?
You might not even notice it. It could be as simple as you pause for 5 seconds and you don't know what would have happened if you didn't take that gap. Like on one story, you fly off the handle, and the other story, you walk out, take a breath, and then you come back and say what you need to say. It could look like that. It could look like moving away from family members who are harmful in some way and just having a separate life and doing things differently. I think it looks like giving your children more voice, I should say, to like, this is how my body feels and this is my preference and I'm not comfortable with that person, and like letting all of that in rather than being like, oh, you're just a kid, just do what I say. It's like letting the child actually voice their needs. I think our generation is also much better at that.
You mentioned before like friends. How can friends or partners, like married partner or just like you're dating somebody, like a partner, can support you healing from like dysfunctional family?
I think letting your partner speak without judgment first. And it's hard because when you marry somebody, especially, they know your family, you know their family. They've told you things even before you were serious, probably about their family and vice versa. So it's hard not to go in and act like you know everything or like you want to make it better, but letting them let it all out first. If there is a problem, you can ask. One of my clients says this, do you want help or a hug or something else, another H word? But like, what do you need? Do you need help? Do you need me to hug you? Do you need me to listen? Like asking for what they need rather than jumping into solution mode is helpful. And supporting them in what they decide to do.
What are some signs that people could benefit from therapy or professional support?
If you're struggling in multiple areas of your life, so work, friends, dating, and then maybe just parenting or everyday life, if it's more than one of those things that's affected by the same patterns or the same feelings or depression or anxiety, or if it really is your dysfunctional family that's like seeping into those areas, I think it's a good idea to talk to somebody, because no one should ever have to not function because of something they went through in childhood. It shouldn't cause so much burden and so much weight in your everyday life. So I'd say if you're not functioning, that it could also include like having trouble sleeping, having trouble with appetite, not seeing friends, isolating, maybe you're leaning on substances more than you would. Those are all good reasons to talk to somebody as well.
I want to ask you about the feedback. You just got one from Anita. So, what was the most powerful piece of the feedback you received from the readers?
Oh, yeah. I actually got a message over Instagram from somebody that I went to elementary school with that I had not seen I don't think I've seen her in like 25 years, maybe longer. And I didn't even recognize her because her picture was so different and everything. And she said, someone had posted about the book from my old school on Facebook. And she said, I didn't know you wrote this. I didn't know this was your life path. I thought I was the only one growing up in our tiny town that had dysfunction in my family. And I was going through it and nobody knew. And I was so alone. And she's like, I just wish I would have known you were going through something too, because I wrote about some of my personal story. And it just meant so much that this person, and I thought, how many other people feel that way, but don't say something, but keep it in, So anytime someone says like a me too, like, yeah, same, that just makes me happy that they're sharing, honestly.
Thank you.
Was there a chapter that was either difficult in one side or very meaningful for you to write?
I think my story, the chapter on my story the section was the most meaningful, because I never realized, I've never really written about it in a public way before. And so this is what my clients do in therapy, but they get to they take back their story and write it in a way that makes sense to them and kind of almost explain and lay out for people. This is why I am the way that I am. This is why I became a therapist. Like, these are some of the things I went through. So having the chance to do that was really meaningful, because it was hard to write and see it written down. And, I sent it to my husband to read and make sure it sounded okay. But important just to see that everyone has something.
You just said it's hard. It is hard to work. Like, what gives you hope when you're working with the people who are struggling with the effects of the dysfunctional family?
What gives me hope? I think the more that I hear them sharing, two things. The more that I hear them sharing with other people, I talk to my friend, I talk to my teacher, I talk to whoever, that lets me know that they're feeling less shame because they're sharing. But also when they start to break the patterns with their own kids too. I had this one session once where I don't work with her anymore, but it was a mom of like a 7-year-old girl. And she was talking in her virtual session with me about her mom, who the mom was very dysregulated and had a lot of big feelings. And she was always putting them on my client. And my client was always like trying to make sure she was okay. And like, well, what does mom need? And she's angry and she's sad. And so she's telling me this and crying that she doesn't want to do it anymore. And then her daughter walked into the session because she didn't know she was on the computer. And so her daughter sees her and I'm like, nice to meet you. And her daughter's like, Mommy, are you okay? Why are you crying? And the client looked at the daughter and said, it's okay. You don't have to take care of me. I am crying. I am sad. I'm very upset. I'm not upset at you. I want you to go play with your brother. I love you. And she walked out and I was like, that's it. You just did it. That's exactly it. Your mom would not have done that. Your mom would have been like, take care of me or get me a tissue or whatever. So moments like that, I'm just like, yes, that's why I do it.
Wow. One more question, like the last one probably.
We have one more.
Why you did get in a book? This is your first book, right?
This is my second book.
The second book. Oh, all right. When? Which one is your first book?
I
didn't know
wrote Adult Children of Alcoholic Parents, which was also a workbook in Oh, she has it.
that. Oh, I didn't know that.
In 2021? 2021, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Right after the pandemic was starting to like let up a little bit. Yeah, that was a tough time. But I did it, yes. So that it's very similar. It's really focused though on like the trauma of an alcoholic home as opposed to any home because it's a really unique kind of population.
It was the right time to publish it, though, because there was a huge rise in substance, any kind, consumption during the pandemic. So,
well, and everybody was living with their parents too. Everyone went home to their parents' houses. So if there was anything existing with dysfunction there, it was like a pressure cooker. So,
all right. So from the moment you realized you had to heal from certain stuff to working with your clients every day now, what does healing mean to you today?
Healing is acceptance, what you can't change, empowerment, meaning you have control over your own life, your own reactions, your own emotions, sometimes as much as you can. It's the behaviors of healing, if that makes sense. So that could be different for everybody, but moving your body, drinking enough water, watching what you eat to make sure you're staying healthy, and then your environment, your healing environment. So like, these are my people, you're healing the family that you choose, the people you surround yourself with, because that's either going to echo back your dysfunction or pave you on the path forward that you want to go. So I think those are the things I would say for healing.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
If you guys have any questions for Kara now, feel free.
No. All right. It's okay. One more thing. Whoever wants the books, the books, they are at the Libri. They can come. We're going to take another one. So the first one, we didn't know you have it. So we're going to have it in stock here. So who wants to buy the books, they can come, drink a coffee or beer or a wine and grab a book and read. They can heal too.
Yes.
Definitely healing too.
Sometimes it takes a book to start the journey.
Or come here in quiet and just read it and see what happens.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kara, for being with us here tonight.
Kara,
for
thank you
this
so much.
wonderful
I appreciate it so
conversation.
much.
Thank you.
This is
Thank you.
wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
You guys are the best audience.